Hello everyone. In this presentation, we will see the money supply curves. We will find out what is the basic difference between the exogenous and endogenous money supply curves and what are the factors which are responsible for the shape of a money supply curve. So let's find out in this presentation. Now let us start with the money supply in the economy. The money supply in the economy is decided by three important determinants. Number one is central bank determinant of money supply. Number two is commercial bank determinant of money supply. And number three is public determinant of money supply. Talking about the central bank determinant of money supply, which is Reserve Bank of India, there are two important determinants. Number one is the monetary base, which we can also call it as reserve money or high powered money. And another one is the required reserve ratio, that is CRR, which is decided or fixed by the central bank. Now coming to the commercial bank determinant of money supply, that is excess reserve, what commercial banks keep with itself over and above the required reserve. This is called as desired excess reserve ratio kept by the commercial banks. Now what is this excess reserve? Excess reserve means that banks are not loaned up. If banks are fully loaned up, that means bank is not keeping any reserve over and above the legal minimum. Loaned up means that bank has the exact amount of reserve that are required. So if bank is keeping anything over and above the required reserve, that is considered as excess reserve. And this excess reserve is an important determinant of money supply on part of commercial banks. Now coming to the third determinant, that is public determinant. Public determinant of money supply means the desire of the public to hold currency. That means currency to deposit ratio. We can also write that desired currency deposit ratio. That means the choice of the public, either they want to keep or hold currency in hands or they want to keep it in the bank as a deposit. So all three together plays a very important role in deciding the money supply in the economy. Now coming to money supply process. The money supply process is graphically shown by money supply curve. Now the question is, what is this money supply curve? Money supply curve shows the amount of money suppliers are willing and able to supply at various interest rates. Now it is important to note here is that the economists disagree about the impact of the interest rate on the determinant of money supply. Therefore, we will distinguish between the two views on money supply. On the basis of the impact of interest rate on determinant of money supply, there are two views on money supply. Number one is exogenous money supply and number two is endogenous money supply. Exogenous money supply are the money supply that are determined by outside forces and does not depend upon the interest rates. As a result, the change in the interest rate do not alter or change the currency to deposit ratio of the public or the desired excess reserve ratio of banks. Whereas endogenous money supply are the money supply that depends upon economic variable like interest rates. As a result, a change in the interest rate alter or changes the currency to deposit ratio with the public and the desired excess reserve ratio of banks. Now we will see in detail the exogenous money supply, and the question that comes here is why exogenous money supply curve is a vertical straight line, or why the exogenous money supply curve is interest inelastic. Exogenous money supply theory states that the commercial banks wish to hold a fixed fraction of deposit as excess reserve, and depositors or public also wish to hold a fixed fraction of deposits as cash in hands. So the excess reserve kept by the commercial banks and cash in hands kept by the depositor are considered as exogenous. That is, they are independent of interest rate and other economic variables. Since the excess reserve and the cash are constant, independent of the rate of interest, the money supply curve is a vertical straight line and are called endogenous money supply curve. So we can say that exogenous money supply curve refers to the situation where the supply of money in the economy is determined by commercial banks' preference for excess reserve and public preference or depositors' preference for holding cash. These two preferences are not affected by changes in the interest rate. Either interest rate increase or decrease, it is not going to affect the depositor's preference for holding cash or the bank's preference for holding excess reserve. So in this case, complete money multiplier is constant. As a result, the amount of money supplied along the money supply curve does not vary with interest rates. If you remember the simple money multiplier, we assume that banks never hold excess reserve, which believes that a constant excess reserve ratio is zero. Along with that, it also assumes that depositors never hold cash. That means a constant currency to deposit ratio is zero. This is an ideal situation of simple money multiplier, which leads to money supply curve, a vertical straight line. Now let us see the exogenous money supply with the help of the figure. This is the interest rate axis and this is the money supply axis. We start with exogenous money supply, a straight line which is independent of the rate of interest. It is interest inelastic. Now suppose if there is increase in the currency ratio or desire to hold currency with the public, if there is increase in the excess reserve ratio or increase in the required reserve ratio, increase in this ratio supported by decrease in the monetary base by the central bank, this will result in the fall in the money supply and the money supply curve will shift towards the left. As a result, the money supply in the economy will fall because the increase in the currency ratio, that means people are not willing to put their money in banks. They are trying to keep it in hands or in cash. So that will reduce the money multiplier process. Increase in excess reserve, that means also the leakage in the multiplier process, and increase in the required reserve, that is CRR, that will also reduce the money multiplier process. So as a result, with the increase in these determinant, this will reduce the complete money multiplier, because if the increase in these all three determinants, the net result will be decrease in the complete money multiplier, supported by the decrease in the monetary base. So this is showing the monetary base is decreasing and these ratios are increasing. As a result, the money supply in the economy has fallen down. Now what happened if there is decrease in the currency ratio or decrease in the excess reserve ratio and required reserve ratio and increase in the monetary base? This will lead to increase in the money supply and money supply curve will shift towards the right that shows that the money supply in the economy has increased with the fall in these required reserve ratio, excess reserve ratio, and currency to deposit ratio, and increase in the monetary base. So this shows that there is a direct relationship between the monetary base and the supply of money. The increase in the monetary base, the money supply increases; decrease in the monetary base, money supply decreases. Now coming to the indigenous money supply, the question is, why is the money supply curve upward sloping in case of indigenous money supply? In indigenous money supply theory, some economists believe that the excess reserve with the commercial bank and the currency to deposit ratio with the public are not constant, but they vary systematically with economic conditions. Suppose there is a rise in the interest rate, commercial bank will reduce their excess reserve. The desire for excess reserve will fall. Why? Because many banks decrease their excess reserve to be able to lend out additional funds at higher rates. On the other hand, depositors will also be ready to hold less cash in hands. The desire for currency to deposit ratio will fall. Why? Because many depositors will wish to hold less cash and more interest-bearing deposit to earn greater interest income. As a result, we can see that the higher the interest rate leads to lower the desired excess reserve ratio and the desired currency to deposit ratio. Thus, indigenous money supply theory says that if the interest rate rises, the commercial banks' desire to keep excess reserve falls down, because keeping excess reserve means the opportunity cost which they have to pay in form of sacrificing the interest rate. If they had kept that money in trade creation, they could have earned more at a higher interest rate. At the same time, if we talk about the depositors, depositor desire to hold currency will fall. The currency to deposit ratio will fall down because depositors are not willing to keep currency in hands, cash in hands. They are ready to keep it in bank to earn the benefit or advantage of the increased interest rates. As a result, the amount of money supply in the economy will increase. Why? Because there will be increase in the complete money multiplier. All ratios will fall down, excess reserve will fall, currency to deposit ratio will fall, and that will lead to the increase in money supply. Therefore, money multiplier is not a constant but an increasing function of interest rate. According to indigenous money supply theory, this results in indigenous or upward sloping money supply curve. Now let's try to understand the indigenous money supply curve with the help of the figure. This is the interest rate axis and this is the money stock axis. This is the original money supply curve, which is an upward sloping curve. So this upward sloping curve shows that the money supply is the function of the rate of interest. And money supply curve is indigenous. As interest rate rises, there is increase in money supply. Why? Because there is fall in the excess reserve with the commercial banks and fall in the currency to deposit ratio by the public. That means with the increase in the interest rate, the depositors are ready to keep more money in the bank rather than keeping it in cash, and commercial banks are not willing to keep excess reserve. So this leads to increase in the money supply, and money supply curve is an upward sloping curve. That is, money supply is an upward function of the interest rate. Now the next question comes here is, what will lead to the shift in the money supply curve? So the shift in the money supply curve is caused due to the increase in the monetary base or decrease in the monetary base or the change in the required reserve ratio. If there is increase in monetary base, the high powered money, reserve money by the central bank, and reduction in the required reserve by the central bank, that will increase the money supply, and money supply curve will shift towards the right, leading to increase in the money supply. This is showing that the money supply curve shifts from this M0 initial curve to M2. Now consider that central bank decide to reduce the monetary base or high powered money and increase the required reserve ratio. This is going to reduce the money supply, and money supply curve will shift towards the left. This is called the shifting of the money supply curve towards the left, which shows that money supply is reduced in the economy. So in indigenous money supply curve, you can see that it is an increasing function of the rate of interest. As interest rate increases, the money supply curve will move upward. But whatever the changes or decision is taken by a central authority, that is RBI, regarding to monetary base or the required reserve ratio, the indigenous money supply curve will shift either towards the left or towards the right, leading to increase or decrease in the money supply in the economy. So here you can see that if the monetary base increases, required reserve decreases, the money supply curve will shift towards the right and the money supply increases. Let's have a comparative study of exogenous and indigenous money supply curves. Exogenous money supply curve is a vertical straight line, whereas indigenous money supply curve is an upward sloping curve with respect to interest rate. Why? Because exogenous money supply curve, economists believe that the currency to deposit ratio of the public and desired excess reserve ratio of the commercial bank is independent of the rate of interest. Whereas in indigenous money supply curve, economists believe that the currency to deposit ratio of the public and desire to hold excess reserve is the function of the rate of interest. If the rate of interest increases, people currency to deposit ratio will fall and people will keep more money in form of bank deposit, that will lead to increase in money supply. Along with that, bank will also keep less in excess reserve and more money for credit creation, that will lead to increase in money supply. As a result, money supply curve will be an upward sloping curve that shows that with the increase in the interest rate, the money supply will increase. Now coming to the second point, what are the reasons for the shift in the money supply curve? So in exogenous money supply curve, the money supply curve will shift due to the change in the central bank monetary base, that is reserve money or high powered money, or the change in the currency ratio, required reserve ratio, and excess reserve ratio. If these ratio falls and central bank raise the monetary base, money supply will shift towards the right, leading to increase in money stock. But if central bank decides to reduce the monetary base and currency ratio, excess reserve ratio, and required reserve ratio increases, money supply curve will shift towards the left, leading to fall in money stock. Now in indigenous money supply, the curve will shift towards the right with the central bank increase in monetary base and fall in the required reserve ratio, leading to increase in money stock, and curve will shift towards the left with the central bank reduce in monetary base and increase in the required reserve ratio. If you have any questions on this presentation, please leave your questions in the comment section and like and subscribe my channel to get further notifications. Thank you so much.